The film begins in October 2010. So at that time, there was this basketball team at Junggang High School in Busan, South Korea. The team was in big trouble because their headmaster was thinking of disbanding it. You know why? Well, their performance in competitions was going downhill and many students, even the coach, left the team. But hey, not everyone at the school was ready to give up on the team. The vice principal was determined to keep the basketball team alive because it had a long, proud history. So they came up with a plan. They decided to bring in a new coach, someone young and promising. That's when they hired Kang Yang-hyun, a 25-year-old trainer. Kang Yang-hyun was a pretty impressive dude. He used to be the MVP in a national basketball competition, and he even had experience coaching the U16 South Korean basketball team. Plus, to top it off, he was an alumnus of Junggang High School. Now there was a little snag in the plan. Since Yang Hyun wasn't super famous yet, the school couldn't afford to pay him the usual big bucks for a coach. But they took a chance anyway because they believed in him and his skills. But even with the new coach on board, the future of the Junggang High School basketball team was still uncertain. A few days later, Yang Hyun started teaching the basketball team, but things weren't looking good. Only 4 students showed up, but 2 of them dropped out for different reasons. The remaining 2 students stayed because they didn't have anything else to do. At that time, Yang Hyun tried to show off his shooting skills, but he missed the hoop, and the basketball hoop even fell down. Despite the rough start, he didn't give up and kept trying. To recruit more players, he spent his days calling Junggang High students and graduates from junior high school, trying to convince them to join the basketball team. In that same year, back in 2010, Yang Hyun met a teenager named Soon-ju who was practicing soccer at school. Although Soon-ju wasn't a soccer star, his height caught Yang Hyun's attention, making him think he could be a good basketball player. Even though Soon-ju knew nothing about basketball, Yang Hyun still invited him to join the Junggang High School basketball team because he was tall and physically strong, and he lived close to the school. Turns out Yang Hyun didn't stop there. Shortly after, he took Soon-ju to watch a basketball game so he could get the hang of it and learn the basic rules. While they were there, Yang Hyun noticed another player who was performing really well. This player was named Kang Ho, and Yang Hyun was impressed with his skills. Without any hesitation, Kang Ho happily accepted the offer to join the team. After that, Yang Hyun went on the hunt for more basketball talent to strengthen his team. He came across a junior high student named Ki-byum, who had been the MVP in the National Junior Championship the previous year. Lots of big high school teams in Seoul wanted him, but because he wasn't getting any taller, the offers disappeared and his performance suffered. So, Yang Hyun made Ki-byum an offer to join Junggang High School and become their star player. But Ki-byum turned it down. He just wanted to go to a high school with a well-known basketball team, and since Yang Hyun wasn't famous, he wasn't interested. Undeterred, Yang Hyun headed to a street basketball match and spotted a seriously talented player named Ju Hyuk. The only trouble was that Ju Hyuk had a hot temper and had recently gotten into an argument that got him in trouble with the police. At that time, Yang Hyun stepped in, pretending to be his uncle, and helped him out. Then he approached Ju Hyuk about joining the Junggang basketball team. But Ju Hyuk had other plans. He wanted to focus on making money rather than playing in leagues. Yang Hyun knew how much Ju Hyuk loved basketball, so he gave him a makeshift business card and invited him to join if he ever wanted to experience a real basketball match. At the same time, something awesome happened. Yang Hyun managed to recruit Korea's best center player, Jun-young, who's a hopping 2.2 meters tall and in high demand by big teams in Seoul. When Ki-byum's parents heard about Jun-young joining, Ki-byum finally got excited and decided to join Junggang High School too. So now they had 4 new players ready to start their first practice. And guess what? Ju Hyuk, who had some trouble before, lucked out and joined the team too. But right after he joined, he accidentally bumped into Ki-byum. Turns out they already knew each other, but Yang Hyun made it clear that personal stuff should be left aside during training. At that time, Yang Hyun laid down the law, saying that if anyone wasn't serious about training or didn't really want to play basketball, they should leave right away. He didn't want players like that on his team. Those words hit the 7 students hard. Now the team consists of Seung-ju, Kong-ho, Ju-hyuk, Kai-byum, Jun-young, and the 2 Jeongyang High School students who were there from the beginning. After that, Yang Hyun made them run around the basketball court 200 times. They knew he meant business. However, despite being firm with the players, Yang Hyun was actually worried that some of them might quit. They were going through intense physical training to boost their stamina and endurance for their first match, the Gunson Mayors Cup. During practice, Yang Hyun introduced a tactic where the players should pass the ball to Jun-young, who was the tallest and one of the best players on the Jeongyang team. At that moment, some of the other players protested, saying they also wanted a chance to score. But Yang Hyun stuck to his plan and insisted that the ball must always go to Jun-young. On top of that, Ju-hyuk was still acting rebellious and had issues with Kai-byum, leading to frequent fights during practice. The atmosphere was tense, but Yang Hyun kept pushing them to work together as a team. Meanwhile, on the day of the Gunson Mayors Cup, Jeongyang High was all set to face Yongsan High in the first round, but there was a problem. Sadly, Jun-young hadn't shown up yet. Soon after, Yang Hyun decided to go pick him up from his house while the rest of the team warmed up in the locker room. However, things took an unexpected turn. The Yongsan High team arrived, and their coach apologized to Yang Hyun because Jun-young had already joined their team. Turns out Jun-young really wanted to play for Jeongyang, but his parents didn't approve and signed him up with Yongsan instead. That meant Jeongyang had to change their game plan on the spot. Then Seung-ju took over Jun-young's position as center. During the match, it was clear that Yongsan was way ahead, with a difference of more than 10 points. Jeongyang's teamwork was poor, and they made some violations according to the referee. Yang Hyun got so upset that he shouted at the referee, which got him warned and eventually sent off. As if that wasn't enough, Ju-hyuk got into another fight, this time with Kai-byum, and accidentally threw the ball at the referee. It was a mess, and the outcome was disastrous. At that moment, Jeongyang not only suffered a big loss, but also brought shame to the school with their misconduct. The news spread like wildfire, and as a consequence, Jeongyang High School got banned from playing basketball for 6 months. It was a tough lesson for everyone involved. On top of everything else, Yang Hyun had to deal with criticism from the school and the parents of 2 Jeongyang students who were part of the team from the beginning. These parents didn't agree with Yang Hyun's coaching style, so they decided to pull their kids out of the team. Feeling down and defeated, Yang Hyun was about to head home when he ran into a junior high school boy named Jin-wook. Despite knowing about all the recent troubles with the team, Jin-wook insisted on joining Jeongyang's basketball team. He believed that he could be the future of Jeongyang High School basketball. Seeing the young boy's enthusiasm, Yang Hyun couldn't help but be touched, but he told Jin-wook to join another team since he thought Jeongyang's basketball future was bleak. After the team got disbanded, they stopped practicing, and Yang Hyun began packing up his things from his room. Then he stumbled upon a drawer filled with his old belongings from his days as a basketball player for Jeongyang High School. In there, he found a video interview of himself being selected as the best player. Those words he said in the interview hit him hard, reminding him to play happily, enjoy the game, and never give up, even after facing numerous failures. It was just like in the game Rebound, where players get another chance after a missed shot. Those words sparked something in him, and he felt a glimmer of hope again. Soon after, Yang Hyun went straight to Kai-byum's house and waited until he got back from school. When Kai-byum arrived, Yang Hyun apologized and admitted he made a mistake by pushing them too hard during practice. He even got emotional and cried in front of him. He asked Kai-byum to give the Jeongyang basketball team another chance, and this time, they'd work together better as a team. Kai-byum saw how serious his coach was and simply smiled, agreeing to join again. After that, the two of them managed to convince Kong-ho and Seung-ju to join the team without any hesitation. Those guys really wanted to play for Jeongyang again. Together, they all went to Ju-hyuk's house to bring him back to the team. But since Ju-hyuk hadn't left school yet, they met with his mom instead. They saw Ju-hyuk's achievements, mostly from his basketball matches, displayed with pride. At that time, Ju Hyuk's mom told them that he stopped playing basketball because of an ankle injury he got back in middle school, where he used to play with KBM. But now, with the chance to play for Jeonggang again, he got excited. Sadly, the team disbanded after the incident at the Gunsan Cup. While they were heading home without meeting Ju Hyuk, they ran into him on the street, and he had been beaten up because he was playing basketball really well. Then Yang Hyun came up with a bold plan. He challenged one of the guys to a one-on-one basketball match, but here's the thing. He didn't really care about winning the duel. His main goal was to break the tension and get Ju Hyuk back on the team. Thankfully, Ju Hyuk agreed to join again after Yang Hyun talked to him. With the team back together, Yang Hyun had to get permission from the principal to start practicing again. He went all out, shouting on the streets at night until people and neighbors noticed. In the end, the principal gave the green light, probably because he felt embarrassed by the commotion. No time was wasted, and the very next day, they hit the training ground. This time, Yang Hyun organized the team based on each player's abilities. Soon Ju and Kong Ho took the center and power forward positions. KBM had the freedom to pass as he pleased and adjust to the game conditions. Meanwhile, Ju Hyuk received special training from Yang Hyun to deal with his ankle injury. They were back on track and ready to give it their all. On top of that, Yang Hyun also told them that since they were still banned from competing for 6 months by the Basketball Association, they would keep training until they could join league events and pass the preliminary round. In the new 2012 school year, Yang Hyun had 2 students interested in joining the basketball team. They were Jae-yoon and Jin-wook, both already in high school. At that time, they had to show their basketball skills to get in. Turns out Jae-yoon was just okay, but Jin-wook was really talented. After that, things at Jeonggang High's practice changed a lot from the time of the Gunsan Cup incident. They felt more relaxed and happier during practice. The problems between Ju Hyuk and KBM disappeared, and now all the team members were more united than ever. Long story short, the big day of the 37th High School Basketball National Tournament finally arrived on May 4, 2012. While most teams came by bus, Jeonggang High School, with just 6 players, rode in a car brought by Yang Hyun. The next day, May 5, in the very first preliminary round, Jeonggang High was up against Senan High. Sadie, commanders considered Jeonggang the weakest team because 4 of their players had never been in a championship before high school, lacking experience compared to the others. However, thanks to Yang Hyun's smart training, focusing on teamwork, and studying the opponent's weaknesses, Jeonggang turned the tables. Even though Senan High took the lead at the start, Jeonggang came back strong and won their first match with an impressive score of 85-42. At that time, team captain Ki Byum played amazingly, predicting the enemy's moves and controlling the game. Coach Lee for Jeonggang's team was in disbelief, and Yang Hyun was so thrilled he danced in the restroom out of happiness. In the next match, Jeonggang High School was up against Jamopo High School, whose players were generally physically strong. This time, the team seemed much more prepared and confident, especially since they asked Jin-wook to take more shots. The opponents were more focused on KBM and Ju Hyuk, who had been scoring a lot in previous matches. Thanks to Jin-wook's scoring, they were leading 62-51. But then things took a turn for the worse when Jin-wook got a serious shoulder injury and had to go to the hospital. Shortly after, Jae-yoon had to step in and replace him. At that moment, the match became tense as Jamopo kept scoring and almost caught up, but luckily, time ran out and Jeonggang High School emerged as the winner with a close score of 70-67. As soon as the match ended, everyone, including Yang Hyun and Lee, rushed to the hospital to see Jin-wook. Turns out he had a fractured clavicle in his shoulder, and the doctor said he needed 3 months to recover. Hearing that, Jin-wook felt really sad because he couldn't help his friends in the league event. But Yang Hyun reassured him that once he's healed, he can continue training and get back in the game. Meanwhile, Ju Hyuk was still in the hospital, and Yang Hyun asked him to get his ankle checked. But Ju Hyuk said his leg felt fine and didn't hurt at all. In the next round, Jeonggang High had to go against Hansonggu High School, one of the toughest teams around. Yang Hyun had a clever plan for Jae-yoon, who wasn't the best basketball player. He asked Jae-yoon to focus on disrupting the enemy's moves and follow Ki-beom's lead. Then, the match began. Turns out, Yang Hyun's strategy worked like magic because Jae-yoon became a solid defensive player for the team. The game was intense between Jungin and Han Sung-bu, but luckily, Jungin won and advanced to the quarterfinals with a score of 69 to Han Sung-bu's 58. Even journalists and commentators were talking about how much Jungin High School's performance had improved compared to the previous year. After the match, all the players got checked and treated for any injuries to get back in shape, but it turned out that Joo Hyuk had been hiding a worsening ankle injury. On May 10, 2012, in the quarterfinal match, Jungin was up against Gwangsan High School. Just like in the preliminary round, Ki-beom and his friends were struggling against the opponents. To make things worse, they couldn't swap players because they only had 5 left. Despite having a pretty good strategy, the Jungin team's stamina wasn't as strong as their opponents. However, Yang Hyun smartly changed the strategy and positions. At that time, Jungin High School, which was initially behind, turned the game around and won with a great score of 77 to 44, securing a spot in the semifinals. Everyone from the teachers and Ki-beom's parents to their friends and other students from Jungin High School was overjoyed to hear about the team's success in making it to the semifinals after going through the preliminary round. In the semifinal match, Jungin High School was up against Anyang High School, which had a huge team of 17 players, way more than Jungin's 5 players. At that time, Anyang High took an early lead of more than 15 points, making it seem almost impossible for Jungin to catch up. But guess what? Yang Hyun's team still had a chance. Here's the surprise. Jae-yoon, the only player who wasn't great at basketball, managed to slip past the guards of the opposing team and attack without any hindrance. Turns out he had been secretly practicing alone at night, and Yang Hyun saw it happen. Impressed by his dedication and love for basketball, Yang Hyun supported and encouraged Jae-yoon. After all, every player starts somewhere, and now it's Jae-yoon's moment to shine. At that time, Jae-yoon amazed everyone by scoring his first 3-pointer. The whole team cheered and couldn't believe how the game was turning around. Their excitement grew, and each player gave their best performance, including Jae-yoon, who scored another 3-pointer. Eventually, Jungin High School managed to surpass the score and won the match, securing their spot in the final round. What a triumph! The night before the final, Ki-beom asked Joo Hyuk about his injury, but Joo Hyuk didn't want to talk about it. He was determined to play in the match tomorrow, and there were no substitutes either. Instead of going to bed, Ki-beom sat quietly with Yang Hyun in the stands at the basketball court. He couldn't sleep, too excited about the final. In the final round, Jungin High School faced their first opponent, Yongsan High School, the reigning national high school champion in Korea. Before the match began, Ki-beom had a chance to meet and shake hands with Jun Young, who had left the Jungin team because of pressure from his parents. Despite being opponents now, there was no personal animosity between them. The match was a big event, with many people watching, including the vice principal, teachers, parents of the basketball team members, and even the 2 children who had left the team after the Gunsan incident. Some even skipped school to show their enthusiastic support for the Jungin team. Then, when everything was set, the final round between Jungin High School and Yongsan High School finally kicked off. Excitement was in the air. Right from the start, Yongsan High School took control of the game in less than a minute. Jun Young was outstanding in their team. But Jungin didn't back down and fought back, scoring points even though they were feeling exhausted. On the other side, Yongsan's coach also made sure to switch players to keep the game at its best. Yang Hyun didn't want to push the players too hard, but they still gave it their all, pushing themselves to the limit. Unfortunately, their stamina was running low, and mistakes started happening from Jungin High. As a result, there was a huge 22-point difference in the scores. Then, Joo Hyuk and Ki-beom found a more effective attack strategy. Shortly after, the game continued, and Yongsan was leading with 47 points while Jungin had only scored 29. Even so, Ki-beom and his friends never gave up and kept on playing with all their heart. They were determined to fight till the end. In the locker room, Yang Hyun advises his team to never give up on shooting rebounds or going after bouncing balls. He tells them to keep trying, no matter how many times they miss a shot, and to continuously go for the rebound. It's all about the spirit of perseverance and not giving up, even when life gets tough. The second half of the match begins. In the end, Jeongyang High School loses with a score of 63-89. Despite the loss, they fought with all their strength till the very end. Physically exhausted, Jae-yoon in his first match event manages to score 3 points, and in the second round final, he breaks his record by scoring consecutive points. However, Jae-yoon and Seung-ju get sent off in the middle of the game for 5 fouls. With only 3 players left and no substitutes, they continue to fight until the match is over. The film wraps up by showing what happened to each player in the following years. At that time, KBM, Seung-ju, Kong-ho, and Jin-wook joined various teams in South Korean professional basketball around the 2017 to 2018 season. After high school, Jae-yoon gets accepted into Kyongseong University, majoring in physical education. Unfortunately, Ju Hyuk has to retire from playing basketball due to a serious ankle injury, despite having gone through 2 surgeries. Meanwhile, Yang Hyun becomes a popular coach, leading the South Korean youth national team, a top university basketball team, and even coaching the 3x3 national team for the Olympics. And that's how the film ends. The moral lesson from the film is no matter how many times you miss a shot, just keep rebounding like crazy, and you might end up coaching a 3x3 national team for the Olympics.